Okay, welcome back to the meeting. Rachel, do you want to just finish off on the observations and recommendations, etc.?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, so just moving on from where we finished off, there was discussion around parking, and I've noted down possibly an item for the committee's future forward work programme. Janine did mention in terms of the strategic transport plan for Porthcawl that there was a lot of things being looked at for that. So I thought that might be something the committee might wish to put on their forward work programme for the future.
Right. Okay.
There was mention over the multi-storey aspect. I think, Councillor Bledsoe, you mentioned that. I don't know whether you wanted me to request further information over that to clarify for you in terms of, there was mention of multi-storey, but then you said the LDP is not considering them. So if you want me to request further information, I'm happy to do so.
It's fine. I'll take that up with them through other channels.
No problem. That's fine. There was discussion then around funding and completion, and some concerns around for the Penpress Bridge. This is then same queries around the funding and completion, which I think have been picked up already. There was the regional element and funding discussed, and then the concern over heavy traffic in the area following the new development and the removal of the crossing. And then again, in terms of that, I've got a possibly further update to the committee once the whole thing is, once it's all approved, to see what the plans are in place in terms of monitoring that traffic, because they said they would be looking at all aspects, either sides of the bridge and the impact on the areas. So whether you wanted that as a further item on the forward work, or just, it could either be a further item or, just depending on what it says, you could have it as a briefing paper, Chair. So I can note that down. Were there any further comments on that item, please?
Anybody?
Yeah, I didn't quite understand what Rachel was saying, but I mean, obviously it's local to me, the traffic thing, and so I would like some sort of what's the word? It's late formal or positive, output from that. Yeah.
Would you be happy with the report you mentioned, Rachel, at the end there? Would you be happy with that?
As I said, I can put it on the forward work programme. There's a few avenues the committee can go. As I said, if it's an item you really want to scrutinise, you can look at it for scrutiny. You could also look at it as a briefing paper then to see whether you want to scrutinise something. That's sometimes a good route. So you're not taking up a whole item, just to look at the right report. And then you can see if there's something you want to scrutinise, you can then formalise it on your forward work programme.
We're happy to take that route, committee? The paper and then...
Yeah,
yes, Chair. Yeah, I'm happy with that, yeah. Okay. Right.
I think Councillor Williams wanted to come in, Chair.
I think we need to get to agenda item 7 first.
No, he's got his hand ready for agenda 7. Yeah, we spoke to that. Yeah, he's
no problem.
He'll have to jump in if he wants to come in now in this one, because I'm ignoring his hand a minute.
No problem. Chair, I think there's no other comments. Do you want to move on to?
Okay, yeah, we should move on into item 7, the forward work programme. Could you present that for us, please, Rachel?
Yes, Chair. 1 second, if I just get it on the agenda. Bear with me. Got so many screens open.
No, don't
so, yes. Following on from members' consideration of the forward work programme at your previous meeting in July, the forward work programme then for the committee is attached at Appendix A. The Subject Overview and Scrutiny Committee's forward work programme will be included in the next report to the COSC, the Corporate Overview and Scrutiny Committee, with any updates from each Subject Overview and Scrutiny Committee included. There are recommendations attached to it, and there's also Appendix B, which is a recommendations monitoring action sheet, which is picking up on your outcomes of the July meeting. The recommendations then at point 9 are to consider and approve the forward work programme attached to Appendix B, to identify any specific information the committee wishes to be included for the next 2 meetings and invitees, identify any further items for consideration, and then note the recommendations monitoring action sheet, and then note the forward work programme, recommendations monitoring, and any updates for the committee to COSC. Chair, I'll pass back to you, and then I can come in as needed if you want.
Right. Any comments on the forward work programme?
Yeah, I'll come in there, Chair, if I can.
Councillor Williams, I did say you first off the blocks, go on. Right away.
Man. Thank you, Chair. Yeah, a little bit disappointed that my playground issues weren't, the report wasn't done in time. But I have something of importance which I would like added to the forward work plan, as the 2 items that we agreed aren't going forward at the moment. I've been contacted by several taxi drivers. This is a borough-wide issue now, who live within my ward and are bluntly, they're outraged by the fact that BCBC dictate who they can have their vehicles MOT'd by. The only DVSA accredited MOT station that they are allowed to use is T. Richard Thomas, and that's based on Brackler Industrial Estate. And they perform tests on South Wales Police vehicles and BCBC vehicles, and all taxis were registered within the Borough Council. This facility doesn't do repairs, it just tests. That's really unacceptable when vehicles that are owned by taxi drivers have failed for the most trivial of issues, such as a bulb not being functional. A rear bulb, I know one of them was a rear bulb on a number plate, and they failed it. And I know the MOT station I use, if there's a bulb gone or I need a tyre done, you just do it and say, look, I've done it because the tyre was bad. There was a bulb out there, so I fixed that, and it cost you another 50 quid, whatever. When a vehicle fails the MOT at T. Richard Thomas, it's got to be rebooked. They won't do anything work there because they can't, which means that it's an extra £20 fee. They have to go back through the system, and the faults have to be rectified then by another garage, which means there's another day out of their earning potential. Downtime, the taxi operator can then result in significant loss of earnings between £100 and £200. I would also like to see clarity as to why BCBC registered taxi drivers have to use T. Richard Thomas. Isn't this a restriction of trade and a monopoly for all taxi MOTs to be put through one facility? Is it legal? Question mark. I've asked Kelly Watson to come back to me on that, but she never has. And why can't BCBC adopt the same system used by Cardiff City Council and allow taxis to use any DVSA accredited MOT station, making things easier for operators and fairer for all DVSA registered MOT stations? And I'd like this to be added to the forward work plan for urgent attention. So I'm asking the committee to consider that, please. It's something that is very off-putting. I know the guy who's the two guys that have come to me. One of them has been a taxi driver for 24 years, and he's just had enough. He's talking about finishing, and we have a severe shortage of taxis at the moment within the borough. I can't cope with the current business we've got. So okay. I'm asking you to look on this favourably so we can scrutinise it.
I've got three. Thank you for that, Councillor Williams. I've got three other hands up here now. Are these comments relating to what Councillor Williams has said, or something different?
Yeah. Am I next in the row? I am.
You're next, Councillor Williams. Yeah.
Thank you.
Williams,
Is my hand up, Chair?
No, I can't see your hand up. I'll bring you in, Councillor Jacobs, don't worry. As long, I don't want to go on to something else now. We're discussing it. As long as we're talking about the same thing, then we can bring you all in, no problem. Councillor Martin Williams?
Yeah, mine's related. I wasn't quite aware of that specific, but mine's related, particularly the last point Ian made. I've been, it's been drawn to my attention, both by constituents and directly through bitter experience, that there is definitely a shortage of taxis late at night. I know of one story where a constituent was a lone female, booked a taxi, was let down at the very last minute in Court Coleman, and there was I think the comment was, we'll have to walk home. Well, you know, we all know where Court Coleman is, and you can't walk very far from there. So there was that. You know, I've been let down personally by taxis, and there's definitely a shortage. I don't know what's driving that. Whether what Councillor Williams has said has had a bearing on that, I don't know. But I would like to know, you know, what can we do as a council? What are we doing? What can we do to alleviate this? And also, what are we doing? What are we doing with regard to how do we consider that sort of performance when renewing licenses? You know, I mean, I'm not on the licensing committee. I know this, you know, there are criteria, but are we looking at cancellations, late night cancellations, availability after hours? how are we managing this? How are we reviewing it? And what can we do as an authority to have a better, you know, a more reliable taxi fleet, really? And I think it's related probably to what Ian has just said.
It is. It's all. I think it's all interlinked, Martin.
Yeah, okay.
I'm on the licensing committee, and I will bring that point up tomorrow.
Let me just bring Graham Walter now. Is this the same topic, Graham, or?
It is, Chair, yes.
Yeah, go fire away then.
I was just looking at the list of on page 52, I think it is, of report. It tells you what should and might not be considered by the Scrutiny Committee. And it says one of the items that you might want to not consider would be if the topic would be better addressed elsewhere and can be referred there. And it strikes me that this might be an issue that would be better sitting with licensing.
Yeah, I was going to bring people in and ask Rachel for her advice, because I don't know if this will be something for us. But Councillor Colin Davis, are you speaking on this topic, or?
Yeah, just a couple of quick points again. So it's shared regulatory services. It is. It's across Cardiff, the Vale, and Bridgend. It's not Bridgend. I've done some research into this. My day job. I can give you a quick and dirty version of why there's a shortage of taxi drivers. There's a shortage of taxi drivers right across the UK. It's not just Bridgend. Coming back to the Councillor Williams' point about that particular garage, that's probably a procurement issue. It could be perhaps historical, prior to the creation of shared regulatory services. If it's not, and Cardiff are doing something different at Bridgend, well, there you are. Tomorrow you can raise out a licensing and say to the officers, if you can do it in Cardiff, we can do it here. But I guess it's a procurement issue that particular garage is on our preferred supplier list, and it's not a monopoly. It's basically they won a bid. They're on a preferred supplier bid, on our preferred supplier register, and that's where we direct those taxi drivers. So yeah, without officers being present to answer the question, I guess that's more or less it.
Here now. We've got more to advise. So
I don't think they're actually directed. They're told that's the only place they can go.
Okay, Councillor Jenkins.
Well, yes, I suppose now looking at it, it should be addressed to the licensing committee as well, which I am on. But this situation on MOTs particularly has been going on historically. And of course, it's a money maker for Bridgend County Borough Council. They probably won't say that, but it is. It has to be. If you can get your MOT, which is from an accredited, proper, authorised government organisation, then they want to know, as they have done for many years, as other authorities through England and Wales, I'm led to believe, allow their vehicles under their licence to go to any accredited MOT station to get an MOT.
The problem is, we'd all make a statement. We don't know which is true or not. None of us know the legislation behind any of this. I accept your point.
I do it. It costs them a lot of money. When you think an ordinary vehicle that you take brand new out of a garage, but that's been checked over, doesn't have to have an MOT for 3 years. I'm not
disputing anything anybody said here. I'm not sure.
Put it to the license in there.
Are we in the right place to discuss it? There's no one here to advise us. No officers here. I don't. What we need to decide here is: do we take this on as a committee, or do we pass it to a different committee to look at it? Because I'm not sure. I'll be honest, I don't know the answer to that myself.
Chair, could I just interject? Sorry, and it might be for officers. I mean, to me, and what Councillor Walter said, fully accept that. On the face of it, does seem to be a licensing matter, but we're talking about perhaps the broader policy of how we manage taxis within this borough, and isn't licensing a transactional committee insofar as it reviews licenses, it approves licenses, rather than the broader policy of how we manage and deal with taxis. That would be my observation, which is why perhaps it's better for scrutiny of policy rather than a transactional thing.
I can't remember anything that's come into SOC 3 in the last term, and I'm not saying it didn't, but Councillor Pratt is the only councillor that hasn't spoken. His hand is up. Councillor Pratt. Sorry, Rachel.
Sorry. In regards to this, I mean, this isn't. I thank Councillor Williams for bringing it up. This is something that's been dragging on in BCBC since I think 2010. I think it was first raised by a Conservative candidate for Parliament at the time. Yes, it's a weird thing. The only licensed carriage drivers can only use one garage within BCBC. Taxi drivers will be aware that and professional drivers that MOTs for their vehicles are vastly different from what normal drivers are used to. You know, having a light bulb out on a professional vehicle is quite a serious thing. Whereas you can get away with it.
Sorry, Jonathan. I'm going to interject there because the two rear lights, two rear bulbs on the number plate.
I'm gonna have to bring Rachel in, you guys, for some advice because we just go around in circles, you know. Rachel, can you come in?
Move it to licensing, I believe.
Yeah, I think licensing is the best way forward for this one.
Rachel,
Thank you, Chair.
you shed any light on this?
To be fair, I think it just needs a little bit of scoping, as with any item suggested on the forward work programme. It would require some scoping out by myself or the scrutiny team and scrutiny officers. We can get you an answer very quickly, I imagine, this week as to where would be the best remit. And then in terms of if it was to come to scrutiny, we'd scope it out and bring it to the next meeting or agree something via email, and we can get something to you. But as I said, if I can scope it out, so we've never actually looked at licensing before in my experience of scrutiny. But that's not to say we can't, but I would definitely have to scope it out because it hasn't been something I've come across before. So if you bear with me, I will get you an answer as soon as I can this week.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm more than happy with that.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thanks for the input. Right, anything else?
Can I leave the meeting, do you think, Chair?
Yes, you crack on.
I'm needed in Bridgend Town Council as well.
You go, no problem.
Thank you very much. Thank you for
attendance. Thank you. Bye-bye.
If I can just highlight, Chair, in relation to the forward work programme, you'll notice that the Corporate Joint Committee's regional responsibilities then from November has moved to December.
Yeah.
So we are actually open at the moment with items in November. If there are any suggestions, please can members put them forward. However, please appreciate that this is very flexible at the moment, this forward work programme, because the timings of reports and the timings of particularly where the budget falls, that could change if it's going to be late, and that could fall in January or February, for example. So it is flexible, and if members will allow, if there isn't specifically an item you wish to put in for November at the moment, we can certainly agree something via email, because obviously I haven't been involved in the recent discussions with the corporate director.
As well, is she?
Yeah.
Mela's not here. She's got,
So I'm not sure whether there's anything, but we can certainly clarify via email if there's anything else that needs to come in November. But if members do have any suggestions as a potential backup, that would be great.
Yeah. Any suggestions? Your hands are going up here. Councillor Jeng, is your hands a legacy hand or?
No, I'll come in on that. Obviously, I don't know whether it is. Again, I apologise for perhaps making the wrong statement or whatever, but I'm particularly concerned, and so is the Valley, and you are well aware yourself and your councillor of the highways problems we have, and in particular the commitment that was given to have an extra 10.5 million spread over the life of this council on highways. But I haven't had any specifics of how, when, especially. We've got potholes being done, lights put out the drain covers, etc. But we need to prioritise, I believe, for the future, our larger estates and people historically that have not seen a pavement or a road resurfacing in 10, 15 years, sometimes 20 years. And it's getting to a state now that the infrastructure is falling down. It's like having a tile missing on your roof. If you replace it now, you stop rain coming. But if 20 tiles go missing, you end up by having your ceiling come in and costing you far more in the long run. But it's that I'd like, if it's within our scope.
Hang on. It is within our scope, Councillor Jeng, because we've done highways, etc., several times over the years. I'm guessing here, but I would have thought that is in there to be done within. It's normally done annually, isn't it? The highways report, Rachel, isn't it?
Well, it's not on the radar at the moment, but it's certainly something I can look at and forward work programme. Yeah, not a problem.
It's done. We do it regular for it's not on the radar the next few months, but it's definitely done regularly. That because it's obviously it's a hot potato, and you're able to ask all the questions.
Yes, it's done in the budgeting monies that is set aside, but we've got, in far as I'm concerned, an extra £2.1 million per year to be spent.
Okay, I know the point you make, and you saying that. Yeah, I know what you're saying, that there's not, they're not committing to what they committed to in the
Exactly.
yeah, we know that. But like I said, I don't think it's going to be in the next. It's not going to be in November, certainly, Rachel. That is it.
No, I would have to look into the timing of that, but it probably wouldn't.
We put it on the list, but it's not going to be. We're looking for something in November. We are, Rachel, aren't we? That's what you said, isn't it?
Possibly, yes. As I said,
Yeah,
I mean,
so
there's always room to move some of them around, but that would be have to be discussed with the corporate director to see whether the timing is appropriate.
Yeah.
And as I said, I haven't
ideas, isn't it? That's what we can give you.
Yeah.
Councillor Pratt, you hands up.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yes, I'm going to go into highways again. I was kind of hoping Councillor Jenkins would catch my my eye, but he hasn't quite. I've been trying to contact Janine Nightingale since I got elected, to no avail. Has yet to reply to one of my emails. I'm trying to push pedestrian safety in our historic villages. Obviously, I've got a particular concern in my ward in Newton, but I'm happy to push it out across the borough with the committee's permission. Especially with active travel routes coming in, they seem to stop dead and then move into another one. I think moving, especially Newton as an example, we've got some very dangerous. I mean, obviously the roads weren't designed for cars and everything. So I think scrutinising pedestrian safety within our historic villages could be a move forward if we're looking for something in November. If the committee is happy to allow me.
It's quite a narrow topic, that obviously, but I'm
happy to expand it out. I'll have the argument about.
Hear me out. I have had numerous referrals relating to this, Jonathan. I got some answers which you would make your hair stand on end.
Yeah,
I can't make mine, obviously, but would that be possible, Rachel, to do something on?
I can certainly scope it out and speak to the corporate director over it and see whether something could be possible.
As a part of that meeting, I would quite happily, because traffic and transportation you're talking about there, aren't you? Dealing with all that, didn't they?
But along with the pedestrianisation, pedestrian safety, this would obviously include those for the disabled access, such as the drop curbs and prohibiting people
can't take it too
around.
wide, Councillor Jenkins, because obviously you got to get reports and stuff in. It's to have it too broad I don't think would work. Not in November anyway. That would come later. When
fair enough. Yeah.
Rachel could ask certainly and see what
comes back with. Yeah,
scope it out. Yeah. Councillor Martin Williams.
Yeah, please. I'm mindful of the time again. I fully support what Councillor Pratt said there. A big passion of ours here in Coit. You've done a lot of work on that sort of thing. If it could be slightly expanded to be pedestrian safety rather than pavements per se, but that would be good. The one I was going to raise is obviously Councillor Jenkins mentioned highways. I think there's a broader issue with street scene, not just the repair of highways, but weeding and rubbish and all of that sort of business. And that was, obviously it's a public meeting, but there was a briefing about the challenges that the council faces in dealing with that. And I think that would be an interesting one, if not for November at some point.
Yes, I agree. I have a solution to that, but
Councillor Jenkins, Councillor Williams, when we did highways, I'm trying to think back now, we definitely done grass cutting, and because one of the recommendations was to buy goats to cut to keep the hedgerows down was one.
As a keen reader of the Gazette, I remember it well, Chair.
Do you remember it? I won't mention it. I won't embarrass the ex-councillor on that one now, but so we've done that. I can't remember if it was all part of the highways as one, or if we did a couple. Do you understand me? I can't remember now, but there was a big highways meeting, I know that, where we covered loads of stuff. I think the grass cutting came on a different meeting, I think, because they went into the contracts and stuff, So I think that was a separate meeting. Yeah, so they definitely be done. They've got to be done.
It's worth revisiting, Chair, because as I said, I have a proposal and possible solution to some of it.
Okay, radio. Well, yeah. So. Okay.
And if I might, Chair, I know there's correspondence I know that's been out between the last committee meeting in relation to the item that's scheduled for the February meeting on the PRIF. So I just wanted to clarify, I have to declare a personal interest on this one just because I know I was involved way back when with the early Credi one where this touches upon in Cozy Corner. So I'm just declaring a personal interest on that myself. But no, I just wanted to clarify, because I know I've sent out correspondence regarding this in relation to just clarifying with the committee exactly who members wanted to invite on this one. So I just wanted to.
Well, the correspondence, yeah, you said the correspondence, Rachel, didn't you? There was a list of people that requested, wasn't there, when it was initially asked for this? Was it Councillor Martin Williams? Was this one of yours? I think it was, wasn't it? Back last meeting? Is he gone? He's gone, is he?
No, I think he's
No, I haven't gone, Chair. But I was distracted momentarily. Apologies.
Yeah. Was this one of yours? The what Rachel just put? Do you hear what Rachel just said?
No, I didn't, I'm afraid. Sorry, can you repeat that, please?
Sorry, I was just clarifying. It was just regarding the correspondence that's been sent out since the last meeting in relation to the PRIF and the Cozy Corner and the Grand Pavilion, etc., and that piece of work that's scheduled for February. So I just wanted to clarify, because I thought I'd bring it back to the committee, just to clarify exactly what the committee wanted for that report and exactly who they wanted to invite, please.
Well, my understanding, Chair, apologies for missing that, was that essentially what started my interest in this was that there's no a significant sum of BCBC money has now been allocated to the new Cozy Corner 2, shall we call it. So what I need to understand is what has brought that about, that previously there wasn't significant BCBC funding, and then when we roll back, was that the right answer? Was there an alternative? And then a history of to how we arrived at this place and what is the PRIF and what's involved with it. And,
that's the content of the meeting. We appreciate that, Martin, right? What Rachel's asking about invitees, I think, Rachel, is what you asked, wasn't it?
It was both, Chair. It was both, to be fair. So that clarification is actually useful.
Yeah.
I presume anyone who would know anything about it. So officers who have dealt with it on the BCBC side and trustees of Credi, should they be available?
Yeah, that's right, because there was available. You can't make them come, somebody said, didn't they? So, we can only invite people, and and a lot of them don't, and isn't Credi bank going to liquidation, I believe, isn't it? And
I mean, look, I don't know the ins and outs of it, which is why I want it scrutinised. But presumably the people know who they are. They could be invited, and should they wish to come, fine. If they don't, they don't.
I'm going to bring in the call councillors have put their hands up, so I'm going to bring in firstly Graham Walter. He was first, so Graham.
I'll let Nilo as cabinet member go first, but I do want to make some comment and observations, please, Chair.
Yeah, which cabinet member?
Nilo Farr.
She's left the meeting.
In which case, then, yes, thank you.
I'm still here, Chair.
Oh, I thought you. I do apologise, Nilo. My apologies.
No, I'm still here because I was aware this was on the work programme, so I was still here.
Sorry, I do apologise. I thought you'd gone, Nilo.
No, that's fine.
I thought all the cabinet members left earlier on. Fire away, go on, carry on.
Graham
will bring you back in now.
So as to the invite, I would suggest inviting Janine because she was heavily involved in that.
Yeah.
Obviously, this was a project. Credi was before my time, and I'm wondering if it's worth inviting because I believe it was a joint project. So inviting whoever the joint project was, it was Credi and somebody else.
Right. Okay.
So it'd be worth inviting them as well.
Thank you, Chair.
So
Graham, sorry, apologies for that, Graham.
That's all right. I've got a bit more background on this. Credi Charity Limited has been liquidated.
Mm-hmm.
There's a full report on Companies House by the liquidator, some of which is redacted. The main partners were Visit Wales and Credi Charity Limited, which was formerly Porthcawl Harbourside CIC, the Community Interest Company. I understand that this has been agreed that this is going to go on to the forward work programme. I think it's a waste of time, and I think the reason it's a waste of time is because their full report has been published by Visit Wales and is available to anybody who wants to see it after a 3 or 4 minute Google search. But the committee's made that decision. I'll respect and abide by that decision. Again, I'll go back to not the terms of reference, but the guiding principles of scrutiny, which tend to indicate that we look at what's happening now and going forward rather than necessarily looking back, particularly when the private company that was behind this is no longer available.
I think is the point though that the money from BCBC is going to this cozy corner as a you know, consequence of what's happened. I know that's backward looking.
Councillor Martin Williams is correct that in
we
are now making a significant contribution to developing Cozy Corner 2, and that's why
I'm not going to spend 2 hours looking what happened to Credi, particularly because there's nothing we can do with that anymore. But it's definitely going forward. There's definitely something to, you know, maybe to look at there. I got, you know, fairness. Okay,
agree. Councillor Martin Williams is right when he says that as a consequence, or there is a position to be had that as a consequence of the failure of Cozy Corner 1, BCBC now having to invest a significant sum of money into developing Cozy Corner 2. And if that project is to be scrutinised, then so be it. I have no issue with that. But there are significant complications, shall we say, and I'm choosing my words very carefully in terms of looking back into what may or may not have happened that led to the demise of Cozy Corner 1. That's all I can really say.
Okay, point taken, Graham. Thank you. Yeah, I got Councillor Pratt next, another call, I believe. Oh, Newton, Councillor.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, I just want to echo what Councillor Walter said, really. Looking forward is better. Yes, I'm happy to scrutinise. I mean, I have got my own questions over Cozy Corner as I'm hearing things over the grapevine. But I mean, that's a matter for BCBC, and I'll scrutinise them. But there is a report as to what happened to Cozy Corner 1, if we're going to call it that, as Councillor Walter said. I'm happy for it to be added to our papers, but I see no advantage to inviting people from a now liquidated company. I don't think it will serve anything to us. The reports there. Everyone can read it. The project had very little to do with BCBC as far as I'm concerned, or I'm aware. I'm happy to be corrected on that if it is the case. But I do believe, and I'll choose my words carefully, but it's a vanity project to raising up the past. Let's look forward. Let's see what's going on in Cozy Corner now, not what happened in the past. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Pratt. Councillor Martin Williams, you know the final word in this, I think.
Well, if we're fortunate, it'll be the final word. We'll see now. I mean, my point is very straightforward, really. BCBC money, council tax money, is now being used, whereas previously it wasn't. Why has that come about? And perhaps more importantly and more interestingly is could BCBC have done anything in the 6 months, year, 12 months, 18 months, whatever, but in the run-up to the demise of Credi, could BCBC have taken action that would have either prevented the failure, or having failed, could we not have taken the project on or doing something differently? And that's what I need to understand. And also going forward, then of course is you know, it's already gone up £600,000, and how confident are we that it's not going to go up any further? But I just want to explore, could we have done anything differently, and are there lessons to be learned from that? I mean, the deep history is deep history, as my colleagues say.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Councillor Williams. I was living in hope. Councillor Jonathan Pratt is going. His hand is up.
Yeah, no, sorry, thanks, Chair. Sorry, no, I can answer that quite quickly. The Maritime Centre was a £5.5 million project, with then a projected overspend of £2.2 million. That's before we would look at the issues we have now with inflation, if the project was to go ahead. If you read the report that's on the Welsh Government website, you would find out that one of the directors of Credi Charity didn't even bother to explain to Visit Wales that there was an issue with the project until right at the last minute. So I don't think, if you're not going to speak to your partner, I'm not sure what BCBC could have done, if anything, which was effectively a private enterprise.
Well, okay, yeah, thank you, Councillor Pratt. That's very interesting. There's no further hands up at the moment. when we get to the meeting in February, I think, you know, we'll see how it goes, but I just say we won't be dwelling too much on, you know, history. We can see, we can have a little, you know, will any of these people turn up? I doubt it, you know, they're not going to, they probably won't show up anyway, so, but we'll see. But it's on the work programme anyway, isn't it? It's,
it is, Chair.
the
director is aware, Chair, and yes, and as I said, I have already made some inquiries with the liquidating company to contact their clients. I haven't heard anything back, unfortunately, from that avenue. I will try visit Wales if members want me to, so that's fine. And as I said, the corporate director is aware of the report coming forward, so that's fine.
And any officers that are dealing with things now, I suppose, in our involvement currently, I suppose. I did see Councillor Farr's hand go up then. Councillor Farr, did it go up and down, or was it?
Yeah. I think it's just to look at the positive aspect. You know, BCBC did apply for funding from Welsh Government, which was awarded. The project has to be finished by the end of March 2023. So I think that the positive aspect is the fact that we are going to have some business units there. We're going to create some jobs. It's going to be restaurants, cafe, children's park there, open spaces. So we, you know, BCBC could have just walked away, just left it as an eyesore with the boards on. So on a positive note, we've got something developed.
We're in danger of scrutinising it to you tonight, I think now, aren't we? So I think we need to move on. Thank you for that, everybody. Rachel, is anything further? We're gonna.
If everyone is happy, I can scope that out, and then if everyone is okay with the forward work programme as it stands at Appendix A, I can take that forward and all the comments, scope them out with Meryl, and then we can provide a formalised forward work programme then via email and then formally at the next meeting. And then if everyone is happy, then to note the rest of the information and the Appendix B, and then we can take it forward to COSC at its next meeting.
Happy to note.
Happy to note, everybody.
Lovely, thank you.
Okay, there's no urgent items, is there, Rachel? I take it?
No, Chair.
No, well, thank everybody for their attendance and their stamina tonight on this. Seems only 2 reports. It's taken some time, isn't it? So I thank you very much for your attendance, and I'll see you next time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you, Chair.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.